Okay, so the game has just finished. We are at the end of the purchase phase for turn, I think it was 10 or 11. As you can see, we've got here the events that completely demolished our tableaus over here, but even more, completely demolished the refugia that was going over here. This was all full at the beginning of the turn, but it is now absolutely gone. The only survivors are interplanetary dust and Mars Paleo Ocean. I am lucky though. I'm happy even though we do have two macroorganisms, both an earthworm and an arrowworm. So technically we did win with a terrestrial win, but we do have both a terrestrial and a marine. Look at the marine, it's almost dead, meaning we've got a life form on Earth, not only on Earth, but on Venus. So we can take the Venus game over if you guys so do desire. So what I'm going to do, and I do apologise for the shakiness of the camera, I'm just recording on my phone, I don't have a studio equipment. I'm going to give a bit of a breakdown of the board state instead of typing it up, and then I'll give my overall thoughts on how the game went. So, starting over at the mutations deck, I feel most bad for chaperone proteins. It's been on its own for the longest period of time and seems to have always been in the ocean deck for a mighty long time. And then obviously we completely went through our cosmic and ocean landform. I think we've only got one coastal and so one constant. Oh, we actually have a few coastals left, but that doesn't matter too much. We had a good amount of events, as you can see. We got a good chunk of the events deck to work through. We only had only 3 turns left in the grand scheme of things. Let's have a look to see what we would have encountered were we to have survived the aftershock. So we would have had orbital bobbing. It's not too bad. Would have triggered global cooling. It would have escaped the runaway greenhouse. We would have had the cryogenian snowball, oxygen spikes. Yeah, I wasn't doing too good with the oxygen spikes over on arrowworms, but earthworms would have survived due to the spike defense from the vitamins and Gaia ozone layer. What's that there? Ignore UV events until the end of the game. Well, that would have been useful. Quite ironic that it was the last turn, but that's all good. So I'm just going to pile them all together, ready to stick them back in the box in a second. Parasites weren't much of an issue this game. We got rid of them fairly quickly, actually. They didn't cause us too much of a nuisance. I have been known in the past to suffer greatly. Now, moving over here. Oh, wheel on my chair. The 2 tableaus. I definitely used blue as my player 1 for this whole game. He's definitely benefited the most. I sort of used yellow more as just an endosymbiont purchasing device. As a result, obviously we lost all of his bionts first, and there was really no point reassigning them this phase. I would have liked to have gotten a Mars macroorganism out on the board just to give us the variation and choice of doing a Mars game versus a Venus versus a Earth game, but alas, that wasn't going to happen. So we've got a nice little catalyst pool here. I don't think they go towards points. In fact, I don't think you do score points in the Solitaire variant. I might just do it for the sake of records, just to see if I've got a score to beat for the next time. But we have one, essentially. Metal glycolysis. He was doing pretty healthy, actually, with the 2 blue foreign genes. Was pretty immune to oxygen spike attacks as well. Plus, he could re-roll at least 2 specificity rolls. So basically, through the Darwin periods and all the events, he was pretty much protected. Now, I did sort of want to get him upgraded into seaweed or something this turn, but unfortunately got absolutely decimated in the last event phase. But most importantly are our 2 guys over here. We've got earthworms and arrowworms. Now, earthworms was our first organism, microorganism, macroorganism, marine macroorganism and terrestrial macroorganism, and he was doing pretty strong until this turn when he got absolutely eliminated. So he's only got a brain just yet, but that's good. Brains are good. They can develop language and emotions, so we will soon see these earthworms evolve into something hopefully a tiny bit more. And of course, we only ever needed the plant trophic biont down here. Now, in the last phase, I was tempted to keep the yellow endosymbiont so we could purchase something else. However, were we to have lost both the blue or the green endosymbionts, the parasites would then reanimate and start attaching, and I didn't want to be dealing with that. So we just, for the sake of it, lost the yellow endosymbiont. And let's face it, even if these things could attach, I think they steal the cubes away and you won't be able to get the points for it. So either way, I think it's probably balanced it out. In fact, I probably think that if you were to have 2 cubes stolen by the parasites, you'd actually end up with less points in the end. So hopefully we're doing all right on that regard. And then also arrowworms, which has had a bit of a hard life, but eventually pulled through to be alive on Venus with naught but his trophic barn and his heart and blood. So what are my thoughts for the overall game? I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to getting Bios Megafauna on the go. I'm probably going to take a little break just to sit and read the rules thoroughly and learn, and let you guys fill out the poll to decide what we're going to be doing next. Oh, I forgot. Let's go and find him. He's going to be in this deck somewhere. So we've got Amyloid Hydrolysis, GMK. There he is. Buckyball template. What an absolutely useless microorganism. But he did survive. He did get the MVP for hanging on in there. But ultimately his death was a cataclysmic 666 reroll to 666, which, I mean, what are the chances? That hurt quite a bit. But on the whole, I really enjoyed this. I finally feel like I'm confident enough to teach the game. I've never played it multiplayer, actually, so I'd really like to give it a go with some other people. The only barrier, obviously, in the way is the teaching behind it. I think the jargon gets in the way a bit, especially for the lay person, and that's not me trying to obviously sound elitist, but when you sit for hours on end and meticulously comb through the rules, it eventually sort of seeps in. But as a table teach scenario, I think it'd probably be better off just absorbing the molecular jargon and just teaching it as cubes and domes and what have you. But then if we did that, I think half of the charm of the game would be lost, to be honest with you. I think the real compelling nature of the game really comes from, you know, the specific names: chaperone proteins, bacterio, rhodopsin, and what have you. I've had a great time typing these up on the forum. I mean, where is it? I can barely pronounce it myself. Oh, no, he's under here. Yeah, acetyl CoA reduction, extremophile condensation, and metal glycolysis. If I have made spelling mistakes in the forums, I do apologise, but my spell check has been ranting and raving. So what about my overall thoughts on how the turn-by-turn took place? Well, I did enjoy obviously typing it all up. I thought there were a few inconsistency errors with my formatting, especially capitalizations and full stops, tiny little formatting errors that I hope hasn't impacted on the overall experience. As it stands, I'll try and be a bit more meticulous with Bios Megafauna. However, towards the end, I was just quickly typing up, and then proofreading, formatting, colouring everything is just a bit of a pain in the ass. But I'm certainly looking forward to Megafauna and what the future holds. I'll pop the polls up and do a tiny bit of a write-up, but hopefully we'll see you all in the next Megafauna post, which will be directed to the Board Game Geek Megafauna forum. Thanks very much.